So Joe Biden is officially planning on raising taxes on people who do indeed make less than $400,000, which is in contrast to his original campaign promise to not increase taxes on people making under $400,000. Now, Joe Biden's plan initially will seem like that is not true. He's only increasing taxes on people making over $400K. But this information just out actually goes a lot deeper than that. Let's take a look at this in detail. So, Joe Biden is suggesting increasing the contribution of Medicare taxes from 3.8% on income above 400K to 5%. Now, initially, first things first, we look at this and we go, okay, got it. So more Medicare taxes for people making over $400,000. So if you make over 400K, only the amount over 400K gets an additional 1.2% tax, right? So if you make $420,000, 20,000 times 1.2% means you're paying an extra $240 on every $20,000 over $400,000. That seems fair, right? I mean, yes, after all, that's Joe Biden's idea, is that, hey, you know, we just want people to pay their fair share, even though those in the top 1% pay about 40% of all of the government's revenue, and some people, especially those making over $400,000, pay somewhere between 44 to 55% in taxes, depending on what state they live in, which means in some cases you're paying more than half of your entire earned income to the government. Let's just focus on where does this actually increase taxes for people making less than $400,000, because that's pretty important, right? And after all, why is Joe Biden thinking about making these changes? Well, mostly why Joe Biden is thinking about making these changes is because if we jump into the U.S. Treasury's sort of guidance on where we're going to be if we follow this unsustainable fiscal path of basically spending the way we are today on programs like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and defense spending. Well, if we stay on this path, eventually the amount of interest we're going to pay as a percentage of GDP is going to potentially go from maybe just paying 3% interest to potentially 25% interest, basically burying us in so much debt because we're spending too much money as a country. The Treasury Department themselves is saying we're basically screwed if we stay on this path. And the only way to fix that path is basically by contributing less or taxing more, right? Or just spending less money via like austerity, which is kind of like what the European Union did. So if we jump over to this, what's really remarkable is over here, this is the loophole, and it's probably going to hit limitations from Republicans. I think Republicans are going to push back really, really hard on this, especially since they control the House. This is part of a budget negotiation, though. It's going to come up with the negotiations of the debt limit. Personally, I think this is probably a political ploy. This is probably Joe Biden throwing this in here purposefully to piss off Republicans, to make Republicans go, okay, we'll let you tax that 1.5% more on people making more than $400,000. But you need to kill this loophole, this ending of the loophole. So, what is the loophole in simple English? Well, in simple English, there is a loophole that if you are self-employed, you can structure your income through an S corporation. You don't have to worry about the name or the phrase or whatever. Basically, you call up a CPA and you go, yo, make my taxes better, okay? And what they can do is the following. They could jump over and say, okay, let's look at your income. Let's say you and your spouse make $150,000 as self-employed people. Let's now go in and say we're going to pay both of you a $40,000 salary. So we're going to divide up this 50K income in 3 ways. We're going to say 70K of it is a dividend, and we're going to say 40K and 40K are salaries. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be able to change the way we pay taxes. See, ordinarily, if you make $150,000 of income, the normal way, you're going to pay somewhere around 12.4% in Social Security taxes, plus about 3.9, let's say, in Medicare. 3.8 in Medicare. You're going to pay somewhere around, is that right? Is it 12.2? Maybe it's about 12.2. Puts you somewhere around 16.2% in taxes. So ordinarily, at 16.2% in employment taxes, you're looking at paying just employment taxes of somewhere around $24,300. That's what they're showing here. And this is for someone making under 400K, right? This is 150K. Well, if we change it to you getting a salary of 40, and a 70K dividend, now what we could do is we could avoid paying that 16.2% on 70K. So what we're going to do is we're going to save you $11,340. That's what we're going to save you. Joe Biden is now saying, hey, you know what? We're going to remove your ability to exclude that 3.8% from over here. So in other words, it's going to be an additional tax on people making $150,000 with this structure of somewhere around $2,660. So in this example, simply put, if you're a self-employed person making 150 grand and you're using an S corporation, you might have to pay $2,660 more in taxes because of Joe Biden ending that Medicare loophole. That's the bottom line. So think about that. The Treasury Department says we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. Social Security and Medicare are probably going to run out of money by 2033-ish. Joe Biden here in this sort of breaking news from today in his budget reveal is suggesting, hey, don't worry, we're going to cover some of that problem by making sure we tax people more, and this is going to make sure we can actually get to 2050 without cutting a penny in benefits. That's Joe Biden's argument. Now, will it actually go through with a Republican-controlled House? Probably not. Now, a lot of people make the argument that, hey, well, this loophole isn't fair anyway. Why is it that self-employed people get to do this? Well, one of the reasons self-employed people get to do this is because these are known as payroll taxes. And when you're an employee, this burden is split. So when you're an employee, 50% is paid by your employer and 50% is paid by you. When you're self-employed, you're responsible for paying all of it. And in order to incentivize people to pay business or to create businesses and go spend more money on computers, equipment, and take more risk, the government has come up with this idea that, hey, well, let's give entrepreneurs a tax break. Now, that's the way they paint it, but the reality is it's probably the accounting lobby that's like, hey, how can we complicate the tax code some more and basically sell more corporate tax returns? Because if you think about it, if you don't have an S corporation, you could just do your regular 1040 personal income tax return and declare your self-employment income on Schedule C, I believe it is. Now, that is one tax return. If you want to take advantage of this tax loophole and save, 11 grand or whatever in that example, well, now you have to pay a CPA to do your corporate tax return, and they might charge you a couple grand a year to do that. So now you've generated a couple grand a year in recurring revenue for accountants. You save $9,000 net in taxes, and the government is out $11,000. So it's probably the accounting lobby that's pushed some of that, and is probably why the tax code remains as complicated as it is. But it's very interesting to see Joe Biden create this potentially two-pronged attack. I'm going to raise taxes on those making over 400K, which is his campaign promise. But in the same vein, he's actually increasing taxes for a lot of self-employed entrepreneurs, especially those making under $150,000, $160,000. A lot of those S corporation benefits start getting limited once you go above the Social Security limits of about $160,000 for 2023. Now you're really only saving about that 3.8%. But what's really remarkable is think about this example. This is where it gets a little bit crazier as well. Let's say you're making $250,000, right? That 3.8, and you're paying yourself maybe an 80K salary, right? Well, technically, you might be saving 3.8% on all of that difference, right? That's a lot, because that's $170,000 times 3.8%. Well, if Biden closes that loophole, it's actually going to cost somebody in this situation $6,460. So, in other words, if you're self-employed and you have an S-Corp, you're looking at this going, dude, what the hell, man? You said no tax increases on people making under 400K. This is clearly a tax increase on those making under 400K. Closing that Loophole is just sort of the media way to cast it aside and say, yeah, well, it was just a loophole anyway. But it's been in existence for a very, very long period of time, and a lot of people use it and rely on that and created S corporations because of that benefit. So it'll be very interesting, but it's just another example of politicians on one hand saying, oh no, we're not raising your taxes, but on the other hand, raising their taxes. And this is why I have programs on building your wealth, specifically on how to maximize your tax benefits, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employee. The Elite Hustlers course is great for that. Stocks and Psychology of Money and Zero to Millionaire Real Estate Investing, those are some of the most popular. But those are, that gives you a little bit of insight into what's actually going on with Biden over here. Okay, thanks so much for watching and subscribing, as well as sharing the videos. In case you've enjoyed it, make sure to consider getting more perspective via the links down below in becoming a millionaire through real estate investing. It's one of our most popular courses, Zero to Millionaire Real Estate Investing. That is often bundled with the Stocks and Psychology of Money group or the Do-It-Yourself Property Management and Rental Renovations Guide. After that, you can also check out the Elite Hustlers, which has its own special exclusive live stream for people looking to make more money as an individual earner, or that is as an entrepreneur, or as an employee. And of course, check out the other programs specifically for agents or YouTube content creators.